Hey crew, I've got the key to the most expensive production Cadillac ever. This is the Celestiq. And before I get any further in this video, yes, it is raining a ton. Here in Southern California, we're effectively getting our year's allotment of rain in 1 week. And two, let me go back to that key for a second, because the fob, yes, it's in this very nice leather pouch with the contrast stitching that actually matches the interior color of this Celestiq right here. But underneath that is a fob that is the same as a $50,000 Cadillac CT4. And, you know, knowing you have this $350,000 car, I mean, that's the starting price. This car, as tested, is about $400,000. But you're carrying around the same plastic as a normal Cadillac CT4 is a little bit disappointing. Thankfully, it does get a whole lot better from there with this car, including just approaching the vehicle for the first time when it's been parked for a while. The welcome sequence is dazzling and very detailed at that. And now let's talk about the exterior styling, because the Celestiq looks like nothing else on the road, and I think it's fantastic. Certain angles are not my favorite, but I mean the whole silhouette is totally unique, and I love that. Up here at the front, we have this huge flat panel with all those dazzling lights that you saw for the welcome animation, and all the exterior trim is genuine aluminum. This is real metal, as you'll see on the interior as well. You've got these projector LED headlights and the sequential turn signals, this ultra long hood, and that big dash to axle ratio that just says elegance. 22-inch wheels equipped here. You can go bigger, and these somehow look small on a car that is 18 feet long. It does have an air suspension, so the car can sit down just a bit lower than it is right now. And then here is your charge port door, and that is because the Celestiq is an EV. It can fast charge at up to 190 kilowatts, adding back 75 miles of range in about 10 minutes. That's not as fast as some other EVs that are based on 800-volt architectures. This is just 400 volts. Oh, and under that long hood is a small frunk, but the storage capacity is made up for by the giant rear cargo area. This paint color is called Carolina Blue. It actually reminds me a lot of the electric blue on my CT5V Blackwing. And don't worry, if you don't like this color, Cadillac will gladly paint to sample any color you find and like. They're all about the customization of the Celestiq, and we'll see that even more on the interior. Look at this little welcome animation shown on the taillights, which are, of course, all LEDs, and they have that beam up top and down low. Gloss painted black trim here, even around the trunk lid, and it is a hatchback, so when I press on this, it will rise up, that giant sheet of glass, to give you this massive cavity that you can easily load in your cargo. And there is a little bit of storage underneath the fabric piece here, and if you lift the lid high enough, it'll hold its position, and when you let it down, it will do so gracefully. One last call out for the trunk area. The surround is made from a single piece of aluminum. That itself is very impressive and speaks to the quality of this car. Closing up that lid is just as luxurious an affair. Yes, the Celestiq design is going to split opinions. I'm actually curious, you let me know in the comments whether you like it or don't. What I am particularly excited about with this car is that while the shape is similar to things that have come before it, amidst the slew of cars we see on public roads, this is brilliantly unique, and my goodness, does it get attention. I've only had it for 1 day, and already the conversations and the excitement from people I've seen, it gives me energy. Now let's check out that interior. To get inside, there is a small button hidden here in the corner that you press that releases the door a little bit. It doesn't swing it all the way out so it doesn't hit parked cars next to you. You just have to then guide the door the rest of the way. And it would be neat if this car had coach swinging doors, kind of like the Rolls-Royce Ghost, but this is still a pretty elegant entrance. And I'm going to glide my way in, and ducking my head, I now need to stow my umbrella and position that behind my legs. I know you guys are freaking out. The car's getting wet. Just quickly pull up on that lever, and the door will soft close the rest of the way. Hey cabin crew, thanks for joining for this first drive in the Cadillac Celestiq. And I am right now behind my driver's seat at 6 feet tall. I know this is really the primo spot if you have it. We can send the front passenger seat all the way forward, get the max amount of legroom. But I think this spot is important to talk about because with my seat as low as it is, which I wish could go lower, I'll get into that in a second, I have no foot pocket room. Because the batteries are underneath the floor, that raises it up, so I can't move my legs forward at all, and therefore my knees are pitched up at quite the angle. Now I do have the seat reclined as much as it goes, and to adjust the position for the seats, I go into this little screen here. Actually, controls is not the right one. Seat, then I go to position, and then I have to individually select where I want things to go. I do think things would be quicker to adjust if there were some nice metal controls here on the side or maybe on the side of the seats, but alas, I have to go to, let's see, this is back angle. I can pull that up a little bit, and then I will be able to go back here to the slide forward and backward and move the seat back a little bit. That gives me more legroom, therefore my knees are not going to be anywhere close to the back of this herringbone wood trim, one of the many customizations you can do to the Celestiq. That is a $25,000 choice, by the way. Beautiful ambiance in the back of the Celestiq, including the perforations up here on the suede-wrapped headliner for the speaker covers. There are 38 speakers in this car with the AKG sound system. 2 of them are in each of the headrests as well, and then some behind the aluminum speaker grates, which have this cool 3D printed design, one of the many things you can customize as well. And then down here for the speaker covers, everything is in this soft feeling leather, and I pulled up on that handle briefly. There's just this knurled finish to that, and even to the window switches. It's all metal, it's all just the highest quality materials. In terms of tech, I do have that screen which I showed you to adjust my individual climate versus my passenger here. I have the seat temperature. I can do heating and ventilation along with massage, just like the front seat. It's got ambient lighting settings, and you can set a custom style, and then I can always go back here to the tint of the glass roof. So I can have it be all clear like it is right now to let the sunlight that doesn't exist today in, or I can have it be all dark to really mute the vibe inside, or I can individually select one panel above one passenger to be clear, and I'll do that for myself as well, and in different gradients as well. So either perfectly clear or just slightly darker or slightly lighter than this. And while the checkerboard effect is just cool, it's actually just useful if this passenger wants to be in the shade and the driver does as well, but the 2 of us don't want that. We can do our own settings, and then there is also a sun blind that comes down over that back piece of glass. In addition to that technology, there are screens for each rear passenger, and they're nicely responsive, high resolution. You can wear your headphones and listen to what you want to. And there are 2 wireless charging pads. If I pull back on the wood trim here, I can access the 2 USB-Cs and HDMI ports, and then pull it back for your cup holders. You can slide this over left or right to accommodate just 1 large bottle or 2 smaller ones. Then inside this console, which is all covered in leather, of course, we have a good deal of storage space actually, and 2 USB-C ports. What we're missing though is a set of tray tables. I feel like that's standard issue for the ultra high echelon of luxury vehicle, but it's not here in the Celestiq. Instead, you just have this blissful, almost rolling artwork feel. They absolutely nailed the interior aesthetic of this car, even more so than a Rolls-Royce. Now let's check out the front. Like the back doors, there is a hidden button here that we can press. This time it does come all the way out, so I'm wondering if it just detected me and thought it was too close to me to open all the way. And I'm going to glide inside and once again stow my umbrella. There we go, and I don't have to grab the handle here, I just put my foot on the brake, and that closes up the door for me. All right, so the feeling up front is really just as nice as the back. I mean, you don't have the ambiance of the open cargo area, but instead you just have this swath of leather covering the dashboard behind a 55-inch screen. And the way the Cadillac has coalesced. The tech with the physical is really well done here. Despite it being such a big screen, it doesn't dominate the vibe. I think that the breaking up of the segments helps with that. You've got your gauge cluster, which is visible within the steering wheel, and then you've got your infotainment for everyone here in the middle, and then you've got a secondary screen over for the passenger side. And they can watch YouTube videos or scroll or do whatever they want to do, and it's not going to distract the driver, because the moment that you go into drive, that screen goes blank for me and is still visible for the passenger. Speaking of screens, you've also got a digital rear view mirror here, which you can flip up, which is probably needed because the view out the back is restrained. And then you've got, like in the back seats, another screen down here for all of your core functions. And I'm really grateful for this, because the idea is that screen is so far away that you're not gonna reach out and touch it while driving. In fact, it doesn't let you. For safety's sake, you have to use this dial down here, which I have mixed opinions about. It has a nice clicking action, but it just sort of, well, it wobbles a little bit. And I don't think in a car costing this much money, it should wobble at all. It does have this beautiful, almost Spirit of Ecstasy like elegant lady here imprinted on it, and it does have this nice volume knob, and I do like the action of that, and that one doesn't wiggle at all. And then you've got some haptic response keys for the infotainment there. Move it over and quickly find what you're looking for. Those icons are easy to read. And then we've got the steering wheel, which is wrapped in that same sumptuous leather, and the trim is metal, just like everything else inside. Even the gear selector park button is in metal. And this is a difference for me, because I was just in a Rolls-Royce Ghost, and you go to grab the gear selector, which is a stock in that car, just like this one, but it's in this rough plastic. And it just doesn't fit a car that is costing as much as that does. Cadillac thought of it. The plastic on here is this soft, almost rubberized material. It's the same material you have even for this piece right here, an area where GM likes to cheap out on, and a lot of manufacturers do. It just seems to be a philosophy for the Celestiq. Not cheapening out, except for maybe this piece right here. Going the extra mile, even adding details like the coordinates, longitude, latitude of the Warren manufacturing facility where the Celestiq is built, at an output of 1 vehicle per day, by the way. That, the little Easter eggs like the generations of Cadillac silhouettes here on the cup holder surround, it's different. It feels very different than any other GM vehicle I have been in, and now we need to see how that holds up in the drive. The car is already on. As soon as I put my foot on that brake, it turns itself on. So now I'm just going to pull the gear selector in and down to drive, and we are good to go. I won't go far though, because I want to try out the turning radius. Wheel is cranked, and the turning circle is incredible. 18-foot long vehicle, I will remind you, and it turns around like that, thanks to the rear wheel steering system. Now I want to listen to the turn signal. I thought that might be different on this $350,000 car, but that is the same tune as every other GM vehicle, like a horse getting up to a gallop. I don't mind it though. And now let's say someone is driving recklessly on the road and I feel compelled to use my horn. What does that sound like? Dignified, but annoyed. I think that's the right tone to express myself. And right now I have the car, let me go to the drive mode adjustments, in one pedal driving off. So that means no regen braking, except for if I pull on this paddle here on the wheel. And based on the pressure I apply, that's how much regen force I get out of the car. Well, and I kind of like it set up that way. Or if I had to, I'd go into normal. And that is still a really strong level of slowing that happens as soon as you're off that accelerator pedal. That's why I usually go to off and pull on the pedal itself. If you go to high, it just gets kind of crazy. The moment you're off, it's like you're lurching forward, like you're slamming on the brakes. I can't really think of an application where I would enjoy using that day to day, and it just doesn't fit the smooth vibe of the Celestiq. Let's talk specs. Dual motor, all-wheel drive setup, 190 kilowatt hour battery pack, 655 horsepower, 646 pound-feet of torque. though this car almost weighs 7,000 pounds, it gets up and moving as you push into the throttle. It's just effortless. And in the rain, I'm very grateful that we have that all-wheel drive. As far as driving posture for the Celestiq, I don't think there's any other way to do it than just to relax with seat angle and just have one hand gracefully moving the car. There is more resistance to this wheel than something like a Rolls-Royce Ghost, but it's not so much effort that you feel like you gotta really muscle any part of maneuvering the vehicle. And I'll just go ahead and use that paddle to slow us down so I don't have to push my foot too hard on that brake pedal. And it is in fact a good thing that this is the prescribed, self-prescribed driving posture for the Celestiq, because if I sit all the way upright, I cut off a good portion of my visibility. And that's partly because I've got a longer torso, but also just because you can't make the seat go any lower. Again, I know practically why you can't lower it anymore with the batteries in the floor. I just, experientially, I really wish you could. I think it matches the classic Cadillac, casual, almost lowrider vibe that the Celestiq is really embodying very well. Oh well, I guess I'll just lounge like this. Another area for improvement in the Celestiq would be the door mirrors. They're very small, and especially with rain on them, you can't really clearly see all angles that you feel like you should in this car. So if not a bigger door mirror, then maybe having a blind spot camera that could show up here, like in Hyundai and Kia vehicles, that'd be really nice. Sorry to compare this to a Hyundai or Kia, but that's a technology that I think belongs in this kind of car. I know GM thought about this flagship car from the ground up and decided, even before kind of the backtracking that we're doing now against EVs and more towards internal combustion, they decided this should be an EV. And I really have to agree with them. And that's because the built-in smoothness. GM was not going to develop a 12-cylinder engine just for a car like this, whereas Rolls-Royce has been making that forever, and that kind of powertrain with its inherent smoothness matches their cars. And so an EV is the next best thing. I'd, in fact, argue it's probably even better than a 12-cylinder at this point, just because of the effortlessness, the grace with which it accelerates and slows, and the inherent quietness of the EV powertrain. You hear just the faintest whine of the electric motors as you accelerate, but that's just about it from a powertrain noise perspective. You do get a little of that rain noise coming in, but it's just kind of ASMR goodness when I stop talking. Okay, windshield wipers too, but you get the idea. Add to that the ride quality of this magnetic ride air suspension system. It's close. It's not quite as floaty, cloud-like as a Rolls-Royce Ghost, but it's very close, and that just speaks to how good magnetic ride control is. It just suppresses all of the road blemishes. Those manhole covers I was going over, I could feel them a little bit, just as gentle ripples in through my seat. It does not disturb me at all. I love driving this car. And at the risk of sounding like a broken record, this experience from the driver's seat, the ambiance, this car, and I use this word carefully, it's a vibe. It really, really is. The cinnamon color of the leather, the glitz and glamour and the pieces of real metal that are sparkling at me and the texture to those, it's such a cut above the norm. And further emphasizing the specialness of this car, the way that people gawk at it. I mean, absolutely just go like, what the heck is that? They have no idea, but they're compelled by it. They want to know more. And I mean, if you spent this kind of money on this car, that's the effect you want to have. And now as I join this highway, I am going to move into sport mode and see what the Celestiq has for us here. Being careful, considering the weight and the rain. You feel the weight down low for stability, certainly, and you actually get a fair bit of resistance through the wheel in sport. And as I pour on the power, I have the confidence to do so. At no point in time did that feel uncertain. It's not a sports car in any way, but it has the engineering pedigree to indulge your fantasies when you want to have fun. And beyond the sport mode, there is also a V mode. You hit that button here, which I like how covert it is among the other controls. It's not a bright red V button like other Cadillac performance cars. You just hit the V, it takes over, and you get moving. Let's do that again. Whee! Wow, it's a very different vibe than what I was just experiencing a moment ago. The slow speeds, the gentle rain falling. Now it's pelting because I'm going rather quickly. Gosh, and even the way it accelerates at wide open throttle, wide open accelerator, can't say throttle, is smooth. It just builds that pace quickly, but gently. Does that make sense? I mean, it does. It's what I feel. I feel G-force and somehow relaxation. It does help that the seats are very comfortable, so me accelerating is just me having a closer connection to these sumptuous leather chairs. Now let's put that acceleration into context with a real-world 0 to 60 test. I've got my race box set up here to record. I'm in the V mode. It's so very wet, but we're gonna try this. Foot is on the brake, throttle, let go. Oh, have mercy. There's 60 in 3.84 seconds? Who's your daddy, Caddy? That kind of acceleration in this kind of weather is just insane. And of course, the instant power delivery is a key part of that, but it's also the weight of it, just sort of pushing those tires down into the road surface to help it adhere off the line. Anyway, slice it, that's just cool. And now that we are on the highway, I want to do two things. One, I'm actually going to quiet up now. No, genuinely, I will stop talking so we can listen to the cabin volume at highway speeds. And there is, of course, the sound of rain. It's quite nice. But also some tire noise, and again, the wet road surface contributes to the additional volume there. That was a louder road surface and still not all that loud. I drive over that in other vehicles and it's like filling the cabin with noise. This remains a very serene drive. And now, the number two thing, we do have Super Cruise as standard in the Celestiq, or Celestiq? I'm not really sure how to say that. Anyway, I'm gonna start that here, and it is full hands-free highway driving. So my hands are off the wheel. As long as I'm paying attention, it's gonna do its Super Cruise thing. And if I had set the speed at faster than the traffic in front of me was progressing, it would automatically make lane changes around that traffic. I can sort of force it to do so just by indicating. And as long as there is a gap, it's gonna move over and do so with perfect confidence. Stay in the center of the lane perfectly on the curves of the road. Slow down, speed up without me needing to touch the throttle or brake. I love Super Cruise. It's the best, in my experience, hands-free highway driving system out there right now. And it is a key piece of why I would want to take a road trip in the Celestiq. The part of me that would be apprehensive about that is the fact that I've taken EVs on longer drives and have encountered imperfect charging infrastructure and how frustrating that is. But every other part of this drive, the relaxation of Super Cruise, makes me want to do it. All right, now before diving into competition, let me just summarize my thoughts on the $350,000 to start Celestiq. As tested, it's just under 400 grand. What are you getting? Well, you get power that is awesome and delivered instantly and smoothly, and a driving experience that is quiet and graceful. That is truly amazing. The exterior aesthetic, I think it's amazing. I think it gets people talking. Their jaws just sort of descend when they see it. And inside, this is the real kicker for me. Inside, this car feels like such a cut above. It's not perfect. There are little imperfections, like little wiggles here to this dial, or the fact that, you know, you don't have enough recessed foot pocket room as a rear passenger. But man, this experience is just, it's just incredible. Now, the range and the charge rate, 303 miles and 190 kilowatt peak rate, are just sort of good. They're okay. They kind of get this car a pass. They're not class-leading numbers and not what I believe to be key selling points of the Celestiq. But now we're getting into why Cadillac would charge $350,000 for this car. Why not $200,000, as some people have said? And there are two reasons for that. The first being more obvious. Cadillac believes this experience, the attention to detail, the materials, the look, it is legitimizing that price. And I, for the most part, can kind of buy into it. The second reason is because Cadillac didn't want to get caught in this place of Mercedes Maybach S-Class and Bentley Flying Spur to a lesser extent. They didn't want to be in that $200,000 territory. They wanted to be going toe-to-toe with the Rolls-Royce Ghost. And if they price it there, it has to be in that conversation. You have to be able to look at both cars and go, which one is better? And friends, if we're talking about the Ghost, which I know this is sort of an odd comparison because this is all electric, whereas the Ghost is not. It would almost be like a Spectre competitor, but the Spectre is obviously a four-seater coupe. If you're looking at the two, there are ways where the Celestiq definitely wins. I really do believe this cabin, it's more special than a Ghost. Ride quality, I still think the Ghost is just a little bit softer and smoother. Exterior wow factor, in the right spec, I don't know if I'd get this color for this car, to be honest, and I would choose different wheels. I think it could have more impact than a Ghost if kind of just parked next to one another. And for the same money, I mean almost exactly the same starting price, you really are choosing one experience or the other. You're choosing the Rolls-Royce visage and the just effortlessness, smoothness of the steering and all that, or you're choosing the Celestiq's blend of dazzle and refinements and material quality and design intrigue and a great driving experience. So it's just crazy that those can go toe-to-toe. Now, there are other vehicles you can consider. The Lucid Air Sapphire, $250,000, so $100,000 less to start. It makes 1,234 horsepower, so quite a bit more. Gets to 60 in like 2 seconds. It has way more range at 427 miles. It drives very nicely, very delicately, not the same level as this. And of course, the interior doesn't have the same gravitas. And there are other EVs you can throw in the mix, like the Audi RS e-tron GT Performance or the Porsche Taycan Turbo S, but I don't think either of those are going for the same luxury bend to their driving experiences as the Celestiq. So the fact that Cadillac is competing, now whether you decide you're a Rolls-Royce person or a now Celestiq person, they are competing with Rolls-Royce in a legitimate way. And that is my big takeaway from this car. I hope you guys have enjoyed this first drive as much as I've enjoyed it, and I will see you again next time. Whee!